A good late afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Holly and you're watching 𝐊𝐿𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the last show of the day, the last trade. And there's no better way to wind down the day than with today's market close commentary. So let's dive straight in. Australian shares ended lower on Wednesday as a spike in inflation and the extension of lockdown in Greater Sydney dented market sentiment. The equity market traded cautiously ahead of the Federal Open Market Committee to have more clarity on the timing of the stimulus tapering. The S&P ASX 200 index dropped 0.70% to settle. Earlier today, the index opened lower in line with US stocks, which settled lower as well in the overnight trades. The surge in selling of blue-chip stocks like BHP, Rio Tinto and nickel mines, Redbubble, Netwealth, Polynova and PointsBet dragged the market down. Among the individual stocks, however, investment fund Spark Infrastructure Group emerged as the top performer on the ASX pack with a 5.2% gain. Some of the other notable gainers were English bank Virgin Money UK, automotive retail group Eagers and IT firm WiseTech Global. On the losers side, miner Nickel Mines topped the chart with a 10.2% loss. Some of the other worst performers were online bookmaker PointsBet and healthcare firm Polynova. Next up, let's see how the sectoral indices performed today. The market breadth indicating the market's overall strength was very weak, with 10 of the 11 sectors ending bleeding in red. IT was the worst performer with over 1.95% in losses, followed by energy, which tumbled 1.3%. Among others, telecom, financials, materials, healthcare, consumer staples, and consumer discretionary also entered in the negative territory. Although bucking the trend, A-REIT was the only gainer, closing 1% higher. The IT sector extended losses for the second straight session, tracking overnight losses in its US counterpart Nasdaq. In the tech space, software firms Nuix and Altium were among the top losers. Buy now, pay later firms Afterpay, Zip and Sezzle all settled in the red. And in the banking sector, all the Australian Big Four lenders, that is Commonwealth, ANZ, Westpac and NAB, ended lower. Moving on now to the energy space, sectoral leader Woodside Petroleum, Beach Energy, Santos as well closed higher, tracking rises in crude oil prices. In the mining sector, index heavyweights BHP Group declined the most, followed by Rio Tinto and Fortescue Metals. And in the yellow metal space, Silver Lake Resources ended higher, snapping a two-session losing streak. Meanwhile, other gold mining stocks like St. Barbara, Westgold Resources, Ramelius and Evolution Mining entered in red. And now, before we look at the shares that are in the news today, it's time for a short break.
Crypto talk by 𝐊𝐿𝐴. The crypto market has been red hot given the Bitcoin rally since the past year. And now the most famous cryptocurrency has got competitors, Dogecoin and Ethereum. If the crypto market excites you, tune in with me, Sage, to know the latest developments about the existing digital currencies and the new ones that are joining the race. I'll help you understand the opportunities and the risks the crypto market has in store for you. For all the digital currency related developments, continue watching Crypto Talk by 𝐊𝐴.
Welcome back, I'm Holly and you're watching 𝐊𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the last trade. In this segment, we'll shift our focus towards stocks that created a buzz today. First up, a big tumble from Nickel Mines, whose shares declined as much as 10.2% after the company reported its June quarter earnings. The company posted a marginal rise of 0.7% in nickel metal production from its Hengjaya Nickel and Ranger Nickel projects, compared with the preceding quarter. The firm stated higher prices were partly offset by an increase in operating cash costs due to the rising thermal and coking coal prices. As for the stocks on the up and up, shares of Mader Group Limited rose over 2% to 96.5 cents on robust June quarter earnings. The business support services provider posted a 24% rise in fourth quarter revenue, which was driven by high demand for its services. The company said quarterly earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization gained over 36%. And it's pedal to the metal for tire maker National Tire and Wheel, whose shares gained nearly 4% to hit a 3-year high of $1.21. The company stated it now expects this year's operating EBITDA to be $35.9 million, which is up from the previous forecast shared by the company. National Tire and Wheel has benefited from the unusually high consumer demand for some products. And speaking of gains, shares of San Francisco-based Life360 gained as much as 4.2% to $8.25. The Family app has recorded 32.3 million global monthly active users for the quarter, up 15% from the prior quarter, driven by a viral surge from its teen audience. And one stock is buzzing with energy. Australia's Spark Infrastructure Group jumped as much as 6.9% to $2.78. The electricity infrastructure investor said a consortium including private equity firm 𝐾𝐤𝐴𝐴 has hiked its buyout offer price to $2.95 per share, up from the previous offer of $2.80 apiece. Spark has agreed to grant the consortium, which also includes Ontario Teachers Pension Plan Board, access to its books following the revised bid. And another miner taking the L, mining and exploration company IGO fell nearly 2% after it shared its business update for the June quarter. It's completed the 2021 financial year with strong production and financial results. Sales revenue for the fourth quarter of this year was up 44% over the last quarter. Growth was driven by higher nickel and copper concentrate sales volumes and positive commodity price movements. With the undoubted market demand for COVID testing, it should be no surprise that the share price of Anteo Tech rose over 2% on signing a UK distribution agreement for its product Ugini. The company shared that the DA was signed together with the medical devices company Apicore for the distribution of the Ugini reader platform and COVID antigen rapid diagnostic test in the UK. And yet another miner is feeling the heat. This time it's the biggest fish in the pond. Shares of the world's second largest miner, BHP Group, declined 1.7% to hit a low of $52.45. The iron ore miner has made a bid to acquire a high-grade nickel project in Canada. The company's wholly owned subsidiary BHP Lonsdale has proposed to acquire Canadian-based mining company Noront Resources for 55 Canadian cents per share. Listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, Noront Resources is focused on the development of nickel, copper, platinum, and palladium deposits, as well as chromite deposits located in Ontario. Now, before we look at some more shares that are in the news today, it's time for another short break.
Tune in to get the latest information.
Whether it's about market movements or the currency graph,
Sectoral coverage or industry news.
we cover it all on our news segments.
Be on top of the latest news
With 𝐊𝐴𝐴 TV. Hi and welcome back. I'm Holly and you're watching 𝐊𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the last trade. Before the break, it was non-stop losses in the miner space, and it's no different here with this next stock. The share price of global miner Rio Tinto dropped as much as 1.3% to $130.78 after it committed funds for the Jitters lithium project. The Anglo-Australian company has proposed an investment of $2.4 billion in the Jitters lithium borate project in Serbia, one of the world's largest greenfield lithium projects. The deal is pending, subject to receiving all relevant approvals from concerned authorities. And another car company getting all green lights, shares of automotive retail group 𝐊𝐵𝐴 surged 5.4% to $16.60 on a solid trading update. The company expects to report underlying operating profit before tax of $218.6 million for the 6 months ending June 30. The net profit before tax from continuing operations is expected to be at $267.4 million. And moving on now to some acquisition news, testing services provider ALS saw its shares rising as much as 3.9% to $13.03, its biggest intraday percentage jump since the 22nd of June. The stock rallied after the company announced that it has acquired a 49% stake in Germany-based pharmaceutical testing firm Novosan for about €145 million. According to the company, the acquisition will expand its life sciences service, offering a footprint in Europe. The deal is part of the ALS strategy to focus on growing the life sciences division in strategic food and pharmaceutical geographies and broadening its service offering. Now in our next segment, a look east towards the Asian market performance. The Asian markets hit a 7-month low on Wednesday as investors turned cautious ahead of the Federal Opening Market Committee for clues on interest rate decisions and inflation outlook. While no policy changes are expected in today's meeting, investors will be looking for clues on the timing of the stimulus tapering. Meanwhile, Chinese authorities' crackdown on the tech, property and education sectors also weighed on the regional stock markets. China's Shanghai Composite extended losses for the third session, dropping 0.8%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng also remained under pressure and was down 0.3%. Japan's Nikkei was the worst performer, however, in the region, with a 1.5% loss, and India's BSE Sensex was also down 0.6%. In a similar trend, South Korea's Kospi slipped 0.40%, while the Straits Times in Singapore traded lower by 0.2%. Moving on from Asia now to the US, and in the overnight trade on Tuesday, American stocks fell from record highs as caution prevailed in the market ahead of the Fed's policy meeting. The Dow Jones fell 0.25%, while the S&P 500 slipped 0.5%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite ended 1.2% lower. To the stocks now, and shares of tech giant Apple ended 1.5% lower despite the strong quarterly results. The company's shares fell after executives warned that the chip supply constraints could impact iPhones and iPads this quarter. But it's certainly not all bad news for the tech giant, who reported strong fiscal third quarter earnings on Tuesday, demolishing Wall Street expectations. As a matter of fact, every one of Apple's major product lines grew over 12% on an annual basis. This includes the iPhone sales, which increased nearly 50% on an annual basis as well. Overall, Apple sales were up 36% from the June quarter last year. And now, before we look at the crypto market performance, it's time for another short break.
Property by 𝐊𝐿𝐼𝐴. Looking for a dream home? Well, that may sound easy, but it isn't. And from looking for a property that is the right fit for you in terms of cost and other factors, to zeroing down on the right mortgage plan, there are various aspects to consider. And for the latest slowdown in the property market, tune in on 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV with me, Sage. I will give the latest updates on the property market as well as real estate stocks to help you make the right decision. Keep watching Property with 𝐊𝐼𝐴.
Welcome back, viewers. I'm Holly and you're watching 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the last trade. In the last segment of this show, let's have a quick glance at the crypto market performance. The cryptocurrency market was trading in green during the early Asian trading hours, and very green, might I add, with major digital currencies like Bitcoin, Ether and Dogecoin witnessing a surge in buying. The rally in digital coins was attributed to the launch of a Bitcoin fund today. Canada's largest Bitcoin and digital asset fund manager, 𝐊𝐴 Corp, officially listed the Bitcoin fund on Nasdaq Dubai, the region's international exchange. Bitcoin was trading 7.5% higher. The world's largest cryptocurrency briefly surpassed the 40K level in the last 24 hours of trading. Meanwhile, Ethereum, the world's second largest crypto, was up 4.5%, while XRP rose 2.6%. And meme-based currency Dogecoin traded higher by 2.3% as well. The price of other digital currencies such as Cardano and Litecoin were also flashing in green. So keep your crypto wallets in reach, because it looks like these currencies are shooting for the moon once again. And that is just about all for now in today's show, The Last Trade. With our existing operations in Australia, New Zealand, the UK and Canada, 𝐊𝐼𝐴 Media has launched its operations in US markets too. Every day in our first show, the Global Market Roundup, you can get the latest and most important news from the US, Europe, Asia and Pacific markets. So on that note, I'll see you tomorrow at 10 AM live from Sydney.